He's an introduction. You've seen him on the torrent files all over the place and stuff, you know, as he downloads music. But this is int0x80 giving a talk for anti-forensic talk, which is really well received. It's one of the many that he's done. Also, I came up here also to let you know that he's also going to be performing at the after party. It's like, so if you go to the Club 115 tonight, the club is normally closed, but we're having it opened up. If you have your badge, you get in free. You can't pay to get in, you have to have your badge, and he will be performing very well lubricated, so it'll be very entertaining. He's a great rapper, great hacker, great person, int0x80.
Thank you. My name is int0x80, I'm the rapper in dual core, and I like computer stuff. I usually start out my talks with something from the internet that I think is funny. Right now, there's this series of instructable videos that I like to watch online called How To Basic. So I'd like to show you one of the videos from them. It's called How To Install GTA 5. It's just like an instructable series. They're all very short.
Seems like it.
And so that's how to install GTA 5. Alright, so we're going to talk about anti-forensics, but doing anti-forensics against memory stuff. And also, before I get started, I like to do this thing where I pour some drinks, and if any of you guys are drinking, that's totally acceptable because it's a Thursday afternoon. But I have keywords that are like part of my talk, and every time that I say a keyword, you guys yell drink. And if you're also drinking, take a drink. But I let the audience pick the keyword. So let me get like 3 keywords from the audience, like the first 3 hands that I see. In the back.
Memory.
Memory.
Hard drive.
Hard drive.
Forensics.
Forensics, I heard. Okay, so memory, hard drive, and forensics. Now, I'm probably going to forget these very quickly. Like, memory decreases as intake increases, so. All right. Okay, so some things that we're going to talk about and look at today. First off, we'll give some consideration as to why anti-forensics on why anti-forensics on memory might yield you some advantages in doing your work on the defense side of like doing like incident response and stuff like that. We'll take a look at RAM disks. You'll see that like RAM disks are really cool. It's basically this temporary workspace that you can have that will dissolve after you are done working. Then we'll talk about competitive inhibition, putting stuff into RAM that takes up space so that we kind of block out some more interesting things. We'll talk about targeting different tools. So there are basically 3 main tools that are used in doing memory forensics.
Great.
Thank you. And we'll talk about targeting some of those. And then we'll take a look at tampering PE files, right? So I look at malware all the time. I do malware research. And so I always try to think about things from the perspective of malware. So we'll look at what we can do with Windows executables, and we'll take a brief tour of other stuff that's out there. Okay, disclaimers before I start. I'm not even a pro. Like, I just like to goof off a lot. I actually kind of got my start with forensics stuff. by going to a digital forensics group at InfraGard back in Cincinnati where I grew up. And basically I was just like really interested in how the FBI did their stuff and what I could do to mess with their results. And like if you go on YouTube and look up anti-forensics talks that I've given in the past, there's like more of the backstory there about my interactions with the FBI, and it's kind of lulzy. But basically my goal is to always be trolling, right? ABT, always be trolling. It's super easy to throw off the results and cause inaccuracy, so why not do it? I'm not an expert, your mileage may vary, it probably will vary, and do all the illegal things. So, like if you look at like current laws, like you're probably doing something illegal with computers, even if you don't intend to be. And so the only way that I've learned things is by doing illegal things. So I recommend doing illegal things. It's basically dog science. I have no idea what I'm doing. Oh, and also being from the internet, I love to have memes in my talk. I feel like it's a really good channel for communication. So my meme for this talk is that really rustled my jimmies, and you'll just see it manifest throughout the talk. Okay, so the overview of things. Old and busted disk forensics, right? Like everybody has done. I was going to say everybody's done hard drive forensics, and I expected it to be This is great. So the quote-unquote new hotness is RAM analysis. How about that? Volatile analysis. So, like I'm sure we're all familiar with doing dead stuff. Now we're looking at live stuff. So what can you get out of doing memory forensics? Lots of stuff as it turns out, right? Some stuff only lives in RAM. So if you do analysis on a drive, you're not going to get that stuff, right? How many of you use Metasploit and you drop like a interpreter shell? Like that's only in RAM, right? It doesn't write out to the disk. And then also like a lot of stuff sticks around in RAM, so you can get like a more complete snapshot of what's happened on a system by doing analysis on RAM. From a malware perspective, there's a lot of neat stuff to be had. Malware protects itself a lot, right? You have packers, you have protectors, you have cryptors, like all that stuff on disk, gonna be a pain in the butt. If you're just like taking a binary, straight up loading it into your disassembler and like taking a look at what it's doing, you might have a bad time. But if you take a look at what's in memory, you might actually get something good. Like you might get encryption keys, you might get the binary completely unpacked and unprotected, and now you can much more easily do analysis on it. All right, we're off to a good start. Not even into any of the demos yet. Okay, tools of the trade. As I mentioned earlier, there are like 3 main tools that people are using for this stuff. Memorize, which is by a company that I used to work for called Mandiant. Lots of smart bros work there, good company. Awesome for acquisition. Before Memorize came out, I was doing acquisition on my own with like various DD variants on Windows and having very mixed success. Memorize was the first tool that came along that was just like consistently acquiring RAM for me. Dump It is another one that's really nice, really fast, really small, nice and portable, works really well. Both of those are good for acquisition. And then Volatility is the main one that's used for analysis, just this open source framework, Python stuff, and like really easy to use. So we'll take a look at all of them. Okay, so let's talk about RAM disks. Okay, so basically you've got this section of RAM that you allocate, and you just like treat it as your workspace. So it's like having a separate device that you have access to at that point once you've allocated it. You can do all kinds of things. You can write files, you can run stuff out of there. It's just like having a separate drive on the system. And process is really easy. You allocate a chunk of RAM, you do your stuff, question marks, profit, and then once you deallocate that chunk of RAM, everything that happened in there just goes away. I've actually used this for a while, like on my server at home. I've got like a big partition that spans a bunch of drives that has like all my stuff that's encrypted, right? So it's got like all of like my music stuff that I've done, like all my rap stuff. Like it's got stuff that I've pirated. It's got like exploits I've written, like stuff that I don't want other people to have access to necessarily. But then my key to decrypt that is on a separate file, and then that key is encrypted by a passphrase. And so my workflow is like to allocate a RAM disk, copy the encrypted key into the RAM disk, decrypt it, use the decrypted key to decrypt the rest of the storage, and then deallocate the RAM disk. And so like you can't capture the key at that point. It's gone. So pretty rad. I'll show you guys my script, and then we'll take a look at a demo in Windows of using RAM disks. And you'll see like just how easy it is to do this stuff. So this is the script on my server, and basically like this is the part of importance right here, is like setting up the RAM disk. Literally it's like one command. Just use mount, specify that you want a RAM disk for your type of device, allocate however much you want, so 8 megs in this case, and then just mount it to a mount point, and that's it. Like super easy, and then when you're done, if you guys have done Linux stuff before, it's just a simple umount command. Like that's it, and you have like a clean workspace that a forensic analyst is not going to get.
Great.
Thank you. Okay, and somehow I managed to like plan ahead enough that I actually made videos of the RAM disk and stuff for Windows. So I will just show you guys that. Because I'm going to be messing up the demos later on. So we'll get at least one where it's, where it's done right. Okay, so basically I'm in my Windows VM here. I've got this password dump, right? And just like to have strings. So we're going to look at this iUserBob user. Like basically we want to see, like we've loaded this text file, so it's in RAM. And now we're going to dump RAM with dump it. So we acquire memory. Thanks. Cool. So that's where our image of RAM went to. So we'll run strings against it. And then we're just going to grep for that iUserBob string, and we'll see like what we can get out of the capture. And I think that we closed the text file also, but the point is like it's in RAM, as you'll see in a minute. Cool. And that's our password dump that we were just looking at. All of it. And there was the iUserBob account in there. So now we're gonna set up a RAM disk. And this is a free tool. Cool, got RAM disk. So now I'm copying the password dump into my RAM disk. And we'll open it again in the text editor. Same thing as before, same file. There's our iUserBob. Close it out. Deallocate the RAM disk. Dump it again. And then let's grep for the same string again, just like we did before. Many suspense, such quiet. Wow. Go. So unpredictable. And it's not there. So we were able to do the exact same thing that we'd done, but evade acquisition from RAM. So pretty cool. And easy, which is like my favorite thing. Okay, any questions on RAM disk stuff at all? Awesome. Any questions on memory or forensics?
Great.
Or hard drive?
Chug.
All right, now it gets interesting. From the drinking. Okay, so competitive inhibition. So yeah, like I said, we're going to try to take up space, right? We're going to put a bunch of stuff into RAM, and then hopefully like flush out some other stuff or prevent other stuff from getting loaded into RAM. So garbage in, garbage out. So there's like a bunch of ways you can do this. I thought it would be funny to do it with PDFs. PDFs are really rad. Like the composition of a PDF is just like you have these objects and streams, but there's all this flexibility with PDFs, right? You can like run external programs, you can do like decompression, you can embed stuff, like all kinds of stuff, right? So I thought like using the decompression stuff would be pretty fun because you could have this like really small PDF that just like balloons out. But then I like ran into some issues, kind of ended up with like bigger PDFs than I wanted. So one of the things that's fun about PDFs is you can put JavaScript in them, right? That's like how all the PDF exploits work for the most part, minus the launch action. So I was like, oh cool, like I'll just stick my code in there. We'll have code populate a bunch of stuff in RAM. So I wrote this tool called wargarble, and basically it's just a loader. It just like loads your PDF reader with a PDF, and the PDF makes the reader do all the dirty work. So let's give that a shot. Let's see how this works. All right. Okay, cool. So I've got, really big. So I've got my wargarble loader, and then I've got a PDF that I made, right? So what we're going to see is I've got Process Explorer up here chilling, and when we run wargarble, if it ran right, yep, okay. So here's Foxit Reader, right? That's my PDF reader in my VM, and then just like keep an eye here. Like this is like the RAM utilization. It's just going. Still going. So we're at like 200 megs, 230 megs. And just like really quick. This file is 982 bytes in size, right? So only 982 bytes on disk. Like you could put that like in a header in your malware, and we're at 345 megs in memory.
Drink.
Oh shoot! Thank you. So anyways, yeah, like, and it'll keep going. I think up until like 512 or something. So yeah, that's kind of fun, right? Let's see. So if we take a look at the wargarble code, not really a lot to it. Basically, check for command line, right? So we got to pass in like what PDF we're going to load. create this batch file. This is actually really janky, but the reason I did it is because malware does this like all the time, and I thought it was really lulzy. Here's a buffer overflow in my code, and basically like all we do is like start our PDF reader, hide it, and then just delete ourselves, and that's it. Like literally like nothing to the code. But that process runs in memory, balloons up, takes up a bunch of space, and then like when the investigator goes to acquire RAM, they get a bunch of stuff. I'll also show you, I haven't forgot my drink, sorry. I'll just show you real quick. The payload of the wargarble.pdf that we loaded. Just standard PDF stuff. Got JavaScript, right? Here's our JavaScript. Let's see if I can get this guy on screen. Cool. So really basic JavaScript. Set a variable, make an array, and then for each value of the variable up to this value, which is like 512 megs, either put an O or an L. So we start with TR and then we get OL. So we get troll in the array. Hilarious. But it's awesome because it's only like it's less than a K, and you can take up lots of space in RAM. So that's pretty fun.
You forgot your drink.
Oh, thank you. I'll drink double for that one. So that's wargarble. Any questions about that, like what we're doing or like why that works or anything? Sweet. All right.
What would be your usage scenario when you fire that off?
I think if I were just concerned, well, in this case, like for me, it's just trolling, right? Like if I want to like get back at somebody at work that I know is going to be doing RAM analysis on a box, then like I would definitely do it like that. I think you could do other things like you could definitely balloon out in RAM to force things to flush to disk. And so if you've got somebody that's like really good at memory forensics, they're only going to focus on that. And if they don't see any malware, they're just going to probably be like, oh, the box is fine. Like because malware runs in RAM, right? So like when malware is your concern, if you don't see malware in RAM, then you're probably like, oh, box is okay, and like that's it. I know when I worked at Mandiant, like I just did malware stuff, but basically like if memory stuff didn't come back with anything, then we didn't like do much analysis on the box. Like stuff rarely went for like hard drive forensic analysis. Oh, and so I used a script called Make PDF JavaScript by this guy named Didier Stevens. I think he's Belgian, or at least I met him in Belgium, and he was a really nice guy. He's got a lot of cool stuff out there about PDF stuff. So if you're interested at all in PDF stuff, definitely look up his code. He's also got really other interesting things like trolling inside of Microsoft Office and stuff like that. Smart dude, really cool. Okay, tool targeting. So let's say that we are malware like running on the box and we are concerned about investigation happening. What are some things that we can do to protect ourselves? So detecting tool usage. Basically like what I was thinking of is find when somebody's using a tool, like they're trying to acquire RAM, like they're using memorize or they're using dump it, and then take action based on that. So we can inhibit or tamper the acquisition, and you can control the investigator in almost real time, which is pretty sweet. I'm sure you can probably do it in really, really real time if you're a much better programmer than I am, or marginally better, because I'm not that good. Okay, so let's talk about inhibiting acquisition first. Basically, all I was thinking is like, if we can find the tools, can we kill them? Like that's just basically what I want to do. And rustlers are going to rustle. So I wrote this program called Hunter2, and this based on this famous excerpt from IRC where the guy thinks that it's not based on it at all, it's just named after it. But the guy thinks that if he types his password into IRC, it will just display as asterisks, or asterisks? Astri? I don't know what the plural is for that. Whatever, stars on everybody else's screen. And so he types hunter2, which is his password, and then everybody says that he can go hunter2 himself, or you can go hunter2, my hunter2ing hunter2. And he sees it, and he's seeing stars at the same time. Anyways, it's super lulzy. Hunter2 is all my passwords, by the way. Okay. Oh yeah, I didn't even do the demo. I was just LOLing so hard in Hunter2. All right. Okay, so here's hunter2, and we'll just run it, and it's just going to chill. Basically, like all it's doing is pulling a list of processes, looking for target processes to kill. And let's try to get an acquisition with dump it. We dropped back to prompt. Didn't even get to hit yes if we want to continue to get the acquisition. Right, so hunter2 says I killed dumped it. Like, let's try again. Nope, killed again. Okay, let's try with memorize. And killed, right? Just keep killing stuff. So, pretty cool, like stop the acquisition from happening. I'll show you guys the code real quick and then we'll talk about it. To do this stuff, I don't even know if it's required, but basically I just escalated myself to SE debug privilege so that I could tamper with other processes. I don't even know if it's required, I just did it out of habit. So that's just like code that I've written that does the SE debug privilege stuff in Windows. And then here is the code for hunter2. I'm going to try to take this down a notch. Sorry, bear with me one sec. See if I can like fit everything, but make it so you guys can still read it. Oh, wait. There it is. Sweet. Yeah. Can you guys still read that okay? Awesome. All right, cool. So just set up variables, get our privileges. This part was interesting, processes, different API call, like mainly when you look up like how do I get a process listing in C++ in Windows, they tell you like to use some API like create tool snapshot 32 or something like that. And for whatever reason, dump it and memorize do not show up when you get your listing from that API. It does with enum processes, so I use that. I don't know why, not smart enough. Just dog science. Okay, open a handle to the process. And then if the process name is one of our two, memorize or dump it, then we kill it, terminate process, bam. The reason that I didn't look for volatility is because mainly like when you do memory forensics. Thank you. Whoever picked those keywords, I love you. When you do that stuff, you're doing your acquisition on the box that's compromised, right? But then you're doing your analysis on your own system. So you take the results of the acquisition, you export it over to your own system, you do the analysis in a clean environment. So my malware is not going to be running in the analyst's environment. It's going to be running on the compromised box. So it didn't bother looking for volatility. If you want to add volatility in, literally 4 lines of code that you have to copy pasta and 1 binary name to change. That's it. So feel free to add as many as many tools in there that you want to target. I heard explorer.exe is really funny too. Or LSASS.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, so any questions about Hunter 2? Awesome. Okay, cool. So I was like, all right, yeah, like, kill the acquisition, that's fine, but if I'm an analyst and I'm like trying to acquire RAM on these boxes that I think are compromised, and literally like none of them are coming back, no acquisitions are happening, process is dying real fast, like spider sense is going to be tingling, right? And I'm going to be like, go gadget, use different tools, or name them differently or something. Like something's going to happen, but basically there's going to be some kind of reaction. And based on physics, it'll probably be like an opposite or greater reaction. I don't know. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, let me be more subtle. Instead of just killing off the tool, let me like mess with the acquisition. Maybe I give them wrong results and they don't see my malware. So like, I was like, cool. I'll write some code to do that. No problem. np. So find the tool running, which we've already done. No problem. Hook write file, because that's how the tools write their stuff out to disk. And then since we hook write file, we can examine exactly what's being written, and then we can modify it if we want to. So I wrote this DLL called lulz, and it basically just does those things that I mentioned. All right, cool. So let's give it a shot. I have no idea if this is going to work. I mean, the code works. I just don't know if I'll do things in the right order of operation. Okay, so I've got this, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to load memorize to do the acquisition. And then my code is going, like, or what you would do is you take your code like we have in Hunter 2 that's polling and finding the target process. And then once it finds memorize, we do like a DLL injection of lulz. In this case, I'm just going to use a remote DLL injector that was written by Security Exploded. And we'll just inject the DLL that way. So, make sure I kill Hunter 2. Yep, all right. All right, so let's start our acquisition. Okay, and memorize is running, and oh no. PID is 3268. Oh no, and memorize finish before I can get there. Okay, it's fine. Let's do it again. We'll do it live. Go. Okay. Oh no. Oh no, it's wrong. My bad. Derp. Go away, proxy. Oh, I don't know how to read. Sorry. Thank you. All right, cool. So this is just the output from the DLL injector. Writing your own DLL injector is very easy. All you have is like a handful of API calls. So you use virtual alloc EX. You get a handle for the remote process, allocate a page in the remote process, write your library name, call load library on that in the remote process using create remote thread, and you're set to go. Your DLL is loaded. If you ever want to write your own, it's super easy, and there's like a ton of tutorials on how to do it. So basically, we managed to inject our DLL into the process space of memorize. So while it's running, collecting RAM, it's going to take a minute probably. So let's watch another how-to basic. Let's watch how to install iOS 7. Alright, how to install iOS 7. Alright, cool. So, our acquisition finished. We run strings, and then just grep for this string. And it'll take a minute because I was like really slow in loading the DLL, but if we're lucky and they didn't mess it up. Okay. Okay. Actually kind of curious as to what that's from. I know, right? Somebody replaced my DLL. There it goes. Sweet. And so that's the point where we started intercepting the buffers that were being written to the disk in the memory acquisition. So basically, like that's, oh, yeah, thank you. Basically, like really simple example, right? Like if you were much more sophisticated, you would like parse out the structures, like write wrong things, but you understand like we are tampering the results that come out of RAM. And so if you're more sophisticated about it, the analyst like is going to have no idea that that any of their stuff is wrong. We can take a look at the lulz code real quick. Okay, not much stuff. This is our buffer that we're going to be using, pointer to our buffer that we're going to be using to write, like this is the buffer that we control that gets written to disk. Our function pointers for write file. And, oh, I put an export in there because we'll see why that's helpful in the next demo. And then, yeah, like here's basically like where we take over on write file, right? So the write file call gets hooked, the API gets hooked, and then when it goes to write the contents to disk, we build our own buffer and write that to disk instead. This is just populating the buffer with troll set Jimmy's to Russell. Cool, and then just standard DLL stuff. Sweet. Any questions about lulz DLL injection? All right, cool. So then I was thinking like, okay, let's be even like more subtle, right? Like let's say like we don't want to pull necessarily for like stuff in RAM, like because I don't like just taking a different approach. So I was like, what if I can like Trojan something like as soon as it hits the disk, right? Let's say I can see like memorize being copied into like the remote machine, and like can I just Trojan it like straight away? Like does memorize check? Does be like, am I safe? Like have I been tampered with at all? And like the answer is it doesn't check. So like it's also very easy to write your own like Trojaner, like Trojan the imports. Basically we'll just use it for speed. We'll use a free tool called PE tools, and we're just going to add lulz as an import into memorize. So we'll add our own. Cool. And just to verify real fast. I know I'm like short on time, so sorry. I just want to try to get this one demo to go. Cool, all right, so we're there. All right, good. Okay, so now, fingers crossed, if we go to acquire RAM again, but again, like now we're not doing anything like actively looking for it. Just do the acquisition. Just lots of trolls, right? Because we Trojaned the binary itself. So whenever memorize goes to run, it's automatically going to load lulwayne.dll. It's automatically going to call the export of do it. My code's automatically going to run. Don't have to do anything else. Don't have to look for it in RAM. Like just automatic win. So it's pretty rad, right? Like we're literally changing the contents of RAM according to memorize. Like what memorize thinks is right is wrong. And we did that. Like we're the ones who knock. Thanks. Okay. So yeah, fun on your hard drive and fun on memory. Okay, so just basically like the stuff that we already saw. Memorize collects the buffer from RAM, dumps it to the disk. And like write file is like the standard thing. Like if you just look up like MSDN, how do I read and write files in C++? It's going to tell you to use the write file API. There's obviously like there's ways around this. There's ways that memorize and dump it can protect themselves from this type of thing. They just don't. So obvious target is obvious. And yeah, like we're just detouring the write file function again. I forgot to mention that my DLL uses Microsoft detours, but I've also like written my own hooking DLLs in like 64-bit and 32-bit, very easy to do without using detours. I think Microsoft charges like 10 grand for 64-bit detours. 32-bit's free, but whatever, like you don't have to use it if you don't want to. And then yeah, like we're literally like when they're about to, they've acquired the tool, the target tool, memorize or dump it, has acquired the buffer and RAM, and it's about to write it to the disk. We just say like, oh yeah, we'll take care of that for you, and then we rewrite it, no problem. And then yeah, tempering on disk, also like very easy to do. Yep. I don't really have much else to add, other than Jimmy's or Russell. Cool. I have another demo called FAQ-Dolan. But we can just look at the code for it real quick because we're coming up short on time. Basically, oh no wait. Oh yeah, the FAQ-Dolan is just the binary Trojan around disk, so that's fine. Yeah, that's exactly what we did. Cool. One last thing that I want to talk about, but I don't think I'll have time to do the demo, but I'll take you guys through the code. Is like, again, like thinking about myself from the perspective of malware, right? Like I'm running in memory and and so I want to be like, cool, like what components are essential for doing analysis on something that's running in RAM, but like what components are also the same but not essential for continuing to run in RAM. And one of those things is the PE header, right? So like every Windows executable has a header to it. It's got this data structure that like enumerates stuff about the rest of the program. And once you're loaded into memory, you don't have to like keep that around anymore, like unless you're like referencing it during like unpacking or something like that. But if you if you need to do analysis on stuff that's in RAM, and you want to do analysis on a particular binary, like a particular executable that's in RAM, you're going to need that header. And so it's pretty cool. Like we can just basically discard it or mess around with it, like tamper, modify it, whatever. And like there's, from the perspective of the malware, there's like no disadvantage to us. So yeah, like if you're unpacked or whatever, you're already off and running, and you're not referencing the PE header anymore, you won't need it. So this really messes with the analysis tools, and it's hilarious. Although one of the developers of Volatility hit me up online and said that they have a plugin in the new version that will actually still acquire my malware even if I do this. So it's kind of funny to know that like tools are changing based on like stupid code that I've written, or maybe not necessarily, but whatever. But still lulz. So we'll have to see like how we can mess with that. But yeah, lots of fun to be had. Because thinking about it, like if you just drop malware all over systems and then people can't get it, but they know it's there, like super funny, at least I think. So the code, the app that I wrote is called "The Keys Are Like Right Next to Each Other," and it's from this IRC exter. The keys are like right next to each other. Okay, cool. So I'm not going to have time to get through the demo, but I'll just show you the code for it real fast. So basically, for this proof of concept, all it does is zero out the PE header once it's been loaded into memory. Oh shoot, thank you. So first we find our dot stub, right, 4D5A. Then we find our PE header, make sure it's there, 50 null null. Get the size of the headers, so we know how many null bytes we need to write into memory. Oh shoot. Make the page writable, and then we use this RTL0 memory, which is just a macro to memsec. Oh yeah. That's the API name. Curse you, Microsoft. If they didn't want me to drink, they wouldn't have named the API that. Then restore the original page permissions, and we're done. And like that's it. So yeah, and basically like when you go, like you pick your acquisition of RAM, when you go to dump out all the executables, this one will dump out, it'll be like, oh, there was this binary running. The keys are like right next to each other, .exe. But then you're like, okay, like give me the contents of that process. And it'll be like, I got nothing. And like it's awesome, it's super lulz. So always be trolling. Okay, like I have like literally 2 minutes left. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to take them. If not, we can watch one last how-to basic. I watched how first. Any questions though, for real? All right, we're gonna learn how to teleport. Awesome. Thank you guys. I'm int0x80. I'm the rapper of dual car. See you at the party tonight.